In the heart of the African savannah is a young lion prince born and destined to rule over the Pride Lands as the next king. But when his jealous uncle plots to usurp the throne, the prince is forced to flee his homeland and embark on a journey of self-discovery. With the help of new friends, the prince must confront his past and embrace his destiny to reclaim his rightful place as king of the Pride Lands. Today, we'll recap the story of the 1994 movie, The Lion King. The story of The Lion King is set in the Pride Lands of Africa, where a lion serves as the king and rules over all other animals. At the break of dawn, the animals living in the Pride Lands are called to Pride Rock, the home of the lion pride. A mandrill named Rafiki walks among the herd and climbs up the rock face to visit his friend, King Mufasa. Mufasa takes Rafiki to meet his mate, Sarabi, who is holding their newborn cub. Rafiki anoints the cub with fruit juice and presents him to the gathered animals, who cheer and bow in respect to the future king. On the other hand, Scar, Mufasa's younger brother, is sulking behind Pride Rock. He is jealous of his brother's position as king and is upset that he will never become king now that Mufasa has an heir. Mufasa and his hornbill assistant Zazu confront Scar about his absence from the ceremony that morning. Scar brushes it off, saying he forgot, and shows disdain for his new responsibility to show respect to the future king before walking away. During a monsoon storm in the Pride Lands, Rafiki is shown in his tree home, a large baobab, putting the finishing touches on his newest wall art. He chuckles to himself as he completes the artwork, which bears the name of the new cub, Simba. As Simba grows into a young lion, he wakes up early one morning and pesters his father to show him the lands he will one day rule over. Mufasa takes Simba to the top of the Pride Rock and points out that everything the light touches is their kingdom, with the exception of a shadowy place on the horizon that is off limits. Out in the plains, Mufasa teaches Simba about the circle of life, a balance that governs all life and comes full circle. Zazu interrupts with a morning report, prompting Mufasa to give Simba a lesson on pouncing, which proves successful but annoys Zazu. However, Zazu abruptly announces the presence of hyenas in the Pride Lands, and Mufasa rushes off to handle the situation while Zazu takes Simba back home. After some time has passed, Simba returns to Pride Rock, where he finds his uncle Scar lurking about. Simba privately talks about his destiny to become king, but Scar shows no enthusiasm. He casually asks Simba if Mufasa showed him the shadowy place on their morning walk, which Simba replies with a no. Scar tells him that it is a dangerous place, only for the bravest lions to venture, goading Simba's excitement. Simba eagerly begs his uncle to tell him what's there, and Scar pretends to slip and accidentally reveals that it's an elephant graveyard. Scar praises Simba's cleverness, but asks him never to explore the place. Despite Scar's warning, Simba reassures him and leaves. Scar smiles to himself, knowing that Simba's curiosity will eventually get the better of him. Simba meets up with his friend Nala, who is getting a bath from her mother, Serafina. He tells her about a cool place he found, lying to Sarabi that it's near the water hole. Sarabi agrees to let them go if Zazu, the hornbill, goes with them. On their way, Simba and Nala come up with a plan to get rid of Zazu, which they successfully execute. They then explore the elephant graveyard, where Zazu catches up with them and demands that they leave. Simba shows off his bravery by laughing in front of a giant skull, which attracts the attention of three hyenas, Shenzi, Banzai, and Ed. The hyenas surround the cubs, and after a brief escape attempt, they corner them in an alcove. Simba tries to roar, but the hyenas just laugh and tell him to try again. Suddenly, Mufasa appears and attacks the hyenas, allowing Simba, Nala, and Zazu to escape. However, Mufasa is furious with Simba for being disobedient and deliberately putting himself and Nala in danger. He sternly leads them back home while Zazu follows closely behind. Later, Mufasa instructs Zazu to take Nala home, while he has a talk with Simba. Simba, feeling afraid and small, approaches his father, noticing how much larger Mufasa's paw print is compared to his own. He apologizes for disobeying, but explains that he wanted to be brave like his father. Mufasa teaches Simba that true bravery is only shown in times of difficulty, and they make up, Mufasa then shows Simba the stars in the sky, telling him that they are the spirits of the past kings, who will always guide him. Mufasa assures Simba that he will always be there for him. Meanwhile, back at the graveyard, the hyenas are bickering with each other and tending to their wounds. Scar appears and is greeted by the hyenas as a friend. Angry that the hyenas failed to eliminate the cubs, Scar proposes a plan to get rid of both Simba and Mufasa, so that he can take the throne for himself. The following day, the Scar takes Simba through a gorge and instructs him to wait near a shaded rock, claiming that Mufasa has a surprise for him. Scar tells Simba to practice his roar and leaves to fetch Mufasa. Meanwhile, the three hyenas wait with Scar at the top of the gorge, where a massive herd of wild beasts is heading their way. As Simba practices roaring at a chameleon, the ground begins to shake and he sees the wild beasts charging towards him. He runs, with the wild beasts close behind, while Scar alerts Mufasa about the stampede and Simba's danger. Mufasa reaches Simba and manages to lift him to safety by gripping him in his mouth. However, Mufasa is pulled back by the stampeding animals. Simba launches as his father attempts to climb back up the gorge, but is blocked by Scar, who claws at his paws and pushes him off the edge. Mufasa falls onto the herd of wild beasts while Simba looks on, feeling helpless. After the stampede, Simba searches for his father and finds him dead under a fallen tree. As he grieves, Scar appears and falsely accuses Simba of causing Mufasa's death. Believing Scar's lies, Simba runs away as his uncle tells him to never come back. Scar then orders his hyena henchmen to kill Simba. The three hyenas chase after him, but Simba manages to escape by jumping into a sea of thorny brambles. The hyenas try to follow but are unable to penetrate the sharp spikes, except for Banzai, who ends up getting stuck with thorns. As Simba runs away to the distant desert, the hyenas assume that he will not survive, and warn him that if he ever returns, they will kill him. Scar then returns to Pride Rock with the news that both Simba and Mufasa have died in a stampede. Scar then takes over the role of the king. The lionesses are frightened as they see a large group of hyenas come to live alongside Scar at Pride Rock. Rafiki watches from afar with a heavy heart and smudges the image he had once created of Simba. In the scorching desert, Senna collapses under the heat and is soon surrounded by a group of vultures. Suddenly, a meerkat and a warthog appear and start attacking the vultures as part of their game, bowling for buzzards. The warthog, named Pumbaa, discovers Simba and brings him to the attention of his meerkat friend, Timon. At first, Timon is afraid of Simba, but Pumbaa reassures him that Simba is just a little cub and will not harm them. Timon suggests that they take Simba in and teach him to live like them, without any worries, and the trio becomes fast friends. Pumbaa carries Simba to a shady spot where he is revived, and Simba expresses his gratitude. Timon and Pumbaa then encourage Simba to forget about his past and live in the moment, as reflected in their motto, Hakuna Matata. They invite Simba to join them in their jungle paradise and teach him to eat bugs instead of meat. Over time, Simba becomes a healthy and carefree adult, thanks to the friendship and guidance of Timon and Pumbaa. Meanwhile, Scar's reign has turned the once thriving Pride Lands into a desolate wasteland. Zazu is now trapped inside a bone cage, singing and lamenting his situation while Scar lies lazily nearby, gnawing on bones. Zazu mutters to himself that he never had to endure this kind of treatment under Mufasa's rule. Scar becomes enraged at the mention of Mufasa's name and reminds Zazu that it is forbidden to speak of him. Suddenly, Shenzi, Banzai, and Ed show up, complaining that food and water have become scarce and that the lionesses are refusing to hunt. Scar suggests that they eat Zazu as a solution, and Banzai accidentally mentions Mufasa's name before correcting himself under Scar's stern gaze. Scar then dismisses the trio. In the jungle, Simba, Timon, and Pumbaa lie down together after a meal of bugs and gaze at the night sky. Pumbaa asks about the sparkling lights, and Timon explains that there are fireflies stuck in the big, bluish-black thing. Pumbaa disagrees, suggesting there are burning balls of gas billions of miles away, but Timon jokes that Pumbaa's flatulence discredits his theory. Simba is asked for his opinion and, prompted by their pleading, suggests that the lights are great kings of the past watching over them. Timon laughs at the idea, but Simba walks off, saddened by thoughts of his father. Simba collapses onto a bed of wildflowers, spreading their petals and leaves in the wind. The wind carries them back to the Pride Lands, where Rafiki sits atop his tree and catches them. As he sniffs the flowers, he recognizes their familiar scent and realizes that Simba is still alive. Overjoyed, he hastily draws a mane around the head of a Simba drawing and declares that it's time. Timon and Pumbaa are taking a walk through the jungle when Pumbaa gets distracted by a rhino beetle. As Pumbaa follows the beetle to the edge of the jungle, he spots a lioness in the tall grass and screams as she chases him. Timon rushes to help but finds Pumbaa trapped in the roots of a tree. Simba jumps in to fight the lioness and Timon cheers him on. During the fight, Simba recognizes the lioness as his childhood friend Nala. After reuniting, Nala tells Simba that everyone in the Pride Lands believed that he was dead after Scar's lies about the stampede. Simba is nervous about what else Scar may have told them, but Nala assures him that he is the rightful king and should return to the Pride Lands. However, Simba refuses, saying he shouldn't dwell on the past. This angers Nala, who believes it's his responsibility to take back the throne. They argue, and Simba storms off, eventually finding himself in an open field where he yells at the night sky and feels guilty about Mufasa's death. Simba hears singing coming from a tree behind him and sees Rafiki in the branches. Irritated, he tries to walk away, but Rafiki follows him and asks him some rhetorical questions while chanting seemingly nonsensical words. Simba thinks Rafiki is crazy, but then Rafiki reveals that he knows Simba is Mufasa's son. He tells Simba that Mufasa is not really gone and runs off, with Simba following behind. Rafiki leads Simba to a reflecting pool and tells him to look onto it. At first, Simba only sees his own reflection, but then he looks harder and sees an image of Mufasa. Rafiki explains that Mufasa lives on within Simba. Suddenly, a storm cloud appears overhead and a specter of Mufasa speaks out to Simba, telling him that he has forgotten who he is and that he must take his rightful place as the true king of Pride Rock. Simba pleads with his father to stay, but the apparition disappears, echoing that Simba must remember who he is. As Simba contemplates the message and the change in the winds, Rafiki hits him over the head with his staff. Angry and in pain, Simba demands to know why Rafiki did that. Rafiki tells him that it doesn't matter because it's in the past, but one can either run from it or learn from it. He swings his staff again, but Simba ducks and throws it away. Rafiki watches and cheers as Simba runs off, announcing that he's going back to Pride Rock to take his rightful place as king. Timon and Pumbaa are sound asleep when Nala wakes them up by nudging them. Startled at first, they ask Nala if she knows where Simba is. Suddenly, Rafiki appears from above and announces that the king has returned. Perplexed by this strange declaration and Rafiki's mysterious appearance and disappearance, Timon and Pumbaa listen as Nala explains that Simba has chosen to return to the Pride Lands to assume his role as the king. After crossing the desert, Simba arrives in the barren and dark Pride Lands, and he gazes at Pride Rock with a burning desire for revenge. Suddenly, Nala, Timon, and Pumbaa show up beside him, and they all agree to help Simba reclaim the throne. Although Timon is not impressed with the desolate landscape they're fighting for, they sneak up to the Pride Rock and discover that it is crawling with hyenas. Simba decides to use Timon and Pumbaa as live bait, and they put on a lively show to distract the hungry hyenas while he and Nala move closer. Simba instructs Nala to rally the lionesses while he goes to find Scar. He eventually finds Scar at the base of Pride Rock, calling out for Sarabi. Hyenas surround her as she approaches, and Simba watches sorrowfully. Scar questions Sarabi about why the lionesses have refused to hunt. She explains that the herds have moved away and their only chance for survival is to leave Pride Rock. However, Scar refuses to listen, and when Sarabi compares him to Mufasa, he cruelly strikes her. Simba, who has seen enough, appears on a ledge and runs down to comfort his mother. As Scar backs away in fear, he mistakes the approaching figure as Mufasa but realizes it's Simba, and gives a hateful glare to Shenzi, Banzai, and Ed. Simba confronts Scar, demanding that he step down from the throne or fight. But Scar tries to avoid violence, and guilt trips Simba by claiming he would feel terrible if he killed a family member. Scar suggests that Simba hasn't put his past behind him and questions whether the Lionesses have forgiven him. Nala questions this, and Scar urges Simba to confess who was responsible for Mufasa's death. Sadly, Simba admits it was him, but it was an accident. Scar uses this to accuse Simba of being a murderer and backs him up to the end of Pride Rock, causing Simba to slip over the edge and hang on his paws. Lightning strikes, igniting a fire beneath Simba, and Scar taunts him by reminding him of how Mufasa looked before he died. Scar then whispers in Simba's ear that he was the one who killed Mufasa. Simba is furious and jumps off the edge, tackling Scar and choking him until he confesses the truth to the Lionesses. This triggers a fight between the Hyenas and the Lions, and Timon and Pumbaa join in with their signature bowling moves. Rafiki also displays impressive acrobatic martial arts skills. During the battle, Shenzi and Banzai corner Timon and Zazu in the Lion's den, but Pumbaa comes to their rescue when Banzai accidentally insults him by calling him a pig. Scar escapes the battle and is pursued by Simba. They meet at the top of the Pride Rock, surrounded by flames. Scar begs for his life, claiming that he's family, and that the Hyenas are the true enemy. The Hyenas overhear this and growl menacingly, but Simba shows mercy and allows Scar to flee, commanding him never to return. However, Scar sneaks in a sneak attack, hurling embers at Simba's face, and momentarily Scar falls to the ground and sees the Hyenas approaching him from between the flames. Scar greets them as his friends, but they remind him of his earlier betrayal, causing Scar to realize his fate, and the Hyenas attack him. Rain starts to pour down, and Simba heads back to the Lionesses, where he greets his mother and Nala. Rafiki shakes his staff and points it towards the top of Pride Rock. He bows to Simba, who embraces him and says it's time. As everyone looks on and the rain clears away the dust and debris, Simba climbs up Pride Rock, taking one final look at the sky before letting out a powerful roar, officially declaring himself as king. The Lionesses join in, hailing their new leader. Sometime later, the animals of the Pride Lands gather again at Pride Rock, cheering for Simba and Nala as they survey their kingdom. Rafiki steps in between them and presents their new cub to the crowd. As we near the end of our journey through The Lion King, we bid farewell to the Pride Lands and the unforgettable characters who have inspired generations. But as we bid Simba and his friends goodbye, we are about to embark on a brand new adventure that will take us to a whole new world. Get ready to pack your bags and join us on a journey to the tropical paradise of Hawaii, where we'll meet a girl named Lilo and her unusual pet Stitch. With its vibrant setting, unforgettable characters, and heartwarming story of family and friendship, Lilo and Stitch is a movie that's sure to capture your heart. So click this video and I'll see you there.